You're listening to the Bleav in Giants podcast with Giants legend Carl Banks and broadcaster Bob Papa.
Welcome to another edition of Bleav in Giants. Bob Papa, two-time Super Bowl champion Carl Banks, and the Giants win streak comes to an end in New Orleans. Carl, I mean, they got outplayed in the football game. It's plain and simple. And there were some opportunities early in the game to maybe change the way the game might play out. But New Orleans was the better team on Sunday. I think we can both agree on that, right?
Well, we can agree that they were the better team and the Giants were a worse team than they've been in a long time. This was a team loss. Bad energy. I think across the board, they weren't good enough, but just no sense of urgency about their approach to this game. And, you know, in some cases, the numbers don't lie. In other cases, the numbers don't add up. Because on offense, those numbers don't lie. You were bad. You were bad on offense. On defense, you could soothe yourself and say, well, look, you know, they contained Kamara. They didn't allow Taysom Hill to do his razzle-dazzle magic. They were under 100 yards rushing and barely got 200 yards passing. But those numbers don't add up because you gave up a ton of big plays when you needed to stop. So, you know, the numbers are what they are. And you can feel good about we did decent in the red zone, but you give up chunk plays when you have a chance to get off the field. Now, I say it's a team loss because the offense couldn't stay on the field and the defense was logging a lot of plays, but the energy was bad, man. They did not have a sense of urgency. And he just felt it. I think we looked at each other and said, this feels weird. This game it just feels weird. And I don't think New Orleans was out of their weight class. They were punching in their weight class. They just came out with a bad execution and, you know, in some regards, I would say a bad plan. You know, your plan works if you're executing, your plan doesn't work when you're not. But the one obvious thing about it, and I get where they were coming from, they did not exploit the Saints' bad run defense. They came out passing the football. Okay. Maybe they thought their jab would work, right? And maybe it would have. First play of the game, they take a shot, incomplete. And this is, you know, I say this with love to my guy, Darius Slayton, but you got to get better. You got to continue to work to get better because with your height and your speed, you got to make those 50-50 balls. They threw it to you. There's an opportunity. You've got to be better. And when I say be better, it's making more plays above the numbers. No, it wasn't a routine catch. No, it wasn't uncontested and you dropped it, right?
It was a little underthrown, and the quarterback even admitted it. He needed to get it out a little bit more over the top.
Yep. And you know what? And this is, I know Darius wouldn't do this, but he could always say, well, shit, if he'd have thrown a better ball, I was open. Yeah, but sometimes you got to help out. And I'm sure he knows that. So you've got to become that guy on a consistent basis to make plays above the numbers. You've done some of those this year. That game was one that they needed. You got slants that were dropped. And see, this is what I talk about with the game plan. Did they have a plan that could be effective? Well, they decided to do something different when they had opportunities. Their drive starters, 2 slants, dropped. because those slants go for 8. Now you're 2nd and 2. Now you can get into what you're doing. So the Giants were never able to get into what they're doing. And the sense of urgency, what I'm talking about, Bob, is receivers. You're playing against one of the league's best pass defenses. So when your opportunities come and you don't make those, take advantage of those, guess what? Good pass defenses, they don't let you have those again.
Right.
You get it the first time, now they're worried about it. You don't get it, they're like, oh, let him throw it again. I'm going to, we're going to break this up over and over again. Now, so when the quarterback puts it on you in a game like this against very good pass defenders, the opportunity does not come again. You got to make that play so that you can get that opportunity again. And that would probably have opened up some of the run game. I don't know how fast they would have gotten to it, but those drive starters that get you 8, 9, 10 yards, you got to make those because that's part of the game plan.
I got a message for our fans out there. Football's back. BetOnline's your number one information source for all your sports wagering info with up-to-the-minute stats, news, scores, and matchup breakdowns. Get the latest game odds, spreads, and totals from the NFL and college football at your fingertips with BetOnline's real-time updates on stats, news, and odds. From week 1 all the way to the college football playoffs and Super Bowl, BetOnline is going to give you access to the best football promotions and contests available anywhere online. So head to the website today or use your mobile device. Get in on the action. Remember, use the promo code Bleav, BLEAV, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online where the game starts. Yeah, I mean, and through the first 3 quarters of the game, the Giants averaged on first down, they averaged a half a yard of play, which is why they had 2 of 16 on third downs, and which is also why they had all these third and longs, 9+. They had 12 of them, 9+. And of those 12, I think 10 of them were 12 or more yards. Like you can't win that way. And you're 100% right. Like those drive starters, you catch those slants and it's Hyatt drop 1, Slayton drop 1. And you're right. If you're in 2nd and 2, then suddenly the Wan'Dale Robinson jet action works. You can throw, there's like other things you can do, but not at 2nd and 10.
Right.
Not at 2nd and 10. And now you've gotten yourself into a situation where you're in advantageous down and distance, and it just snowballs. And like even the first play of the game, Carl, I think that now someone sit there and they'll say, okay, well, the Giants lost 24-6. What are you talking about? But that first play of the game, if either Slayton catches it, if DeVito puts it a little bit more over the top, or Slayton comes back and makes a tough catch, or you know what? If Slayton just gets his hands up and reaches up for the ball and slows down, the DB is going to run right through his back, and you're going to get a 45-yard flag on the first play of the game. That changes things defensively because now the Saints feel threatened. Like, oh, all right, they're going to challenge us, and now that opens things up. Now, look, the guards, the interior part of the offensive line really had a tough day.
Yeah, I'm not even there yet. Yeah. I'm working outside in.
But, I just want to use this. I want to use this as an example. And I think looking forward for the Giants, when you look ahead to next season, you watch the game on Monday night. Seattle wasn't doing a whole heck of a lot. But when the game got to the nitty-gritty in the last 5 minutes of that ball game, DK Metcalf, who only had 1 catch for 8 yards at late in the game, starts making plays. And they're contested throws, and it is, he's battling just for position to get himself open. It's physical, it's tough. Lockett makes a play. Smith and Jigma makes a play. And that wasn't an easy touchdown catch because it looked like, Lock kind of overthrew him a little bit. But he reaches out and he makes the play. But they made some above the X's and O's plays in order to beat Philadelphia. And I think for the Giants, that's an area where they have to kind of upgrade a little bit.
Yeah,
because
and that
that's a
is
difference,
correct.
man. That's a difference. Again, that first pass of the game, if that goes for 45, it changes the whole vibe of things.
Sure.
I'm not saying they would have
Um,
won.
right. So you say that's an area they have to upgrade. Yeah, but those are players that have to upgrade also. Like if you've done it once or twice, and we've seen that from Slayton this year. He's made some plays above the X's and O's. Then make that a habit, right? Have a sense of urgency. Have a sense of urgency that every play that there's an opportunity to make it. A case in point, it doesn't mean much in terms of the outcome of the game as we know it now. But look at the damn play that Saquon Barkley made. It was a much tougher play than
Yes.
that ball that they threw to Slayton down the sideline. That's above the X's and O's
That's
right there.
above the X's and O's.
Yeah, I mean that play right there should have been enough to spark you to say, okay, but you got to upgrade yourself. You got to work at that. Jalen Hyatt, I hadn't seen him that disinterested since after he dropped that ball. It just seemed like he didn't have the interest level. His energy was bad. You can't be that talented and have bad energy on the football field. And then we go to the meat and potatoes of this offense. Your offensive line, y'all don't like nice things because for about 4 weeks, it seemed like you were enjoying nice things. And then you decided, well, we're just not going to focus. You knew what the New Orleans Saints were. You knew the type of defense they run, the type of stunts they run. And again, it's back to zero. The first time they pick up a stunt in that game, it would have been a miracle because they just ran them, and the communication was just awful. And people were like, well, it's time to get rid of the offensive line coach. No, it's time for these goddamn offensive linemen to stay focused on fundamentals. I don't know what's going to happen, but only coaches can do so much once you take the field. It's not like he's out there playing with you, giving instruction as the play goes. It is 4 weeks, you guys were doing really good. Now you're back to the same stuff. Your quarterback's getting hit a lot. You're missing guys, completely missing guys. So now you got a quarterback that's seeing free runners, just like Jones, just like Tyrod Taylor. Now it's this guy. So, yeah, your quarterback can be magical, but he can only do so much if you can't help him out. And you're seeing stunts as if they were new. We're 14 weeks into the season, and you're back to this. You have put a couple good games on tape, and I guess, the Saints said, we're going to test the theory. Let's run some more stunts and see if they're really committed to picking them up. Well, you weren't, and this is where it was. Defensively, not good enough.
No,
not good enough.
They didn't. In the winning streak, they were not only did they play well, but they were disruptive.
Yeah,
Giants had no disruptive plays defensively. None. I mean, it just felt like the Saints were able to just do a slow drip on them, and just convert some third downs, hit a 3rd and 5, hit this, hit that, make some plays, keep the chains moving, and then hit a play, and then get in the scoring area and score a touchdown. There was no. Yeah. And the one time they had him in a stressful spot, they let him off the hook on the 3rd and 14 or whatever it was.
Yeah, and it's like in basic coverage stuff. Wink played his share of zone. You can't let someone start outside the hash and bend it all the way back inside the hash to the middle of the field. If it's a cover two look, or if you're playing inside technique, commit to that technique. Just because the guy, you got him pushed out between the hash and the numbers, then use your body to continue to shield him. It's no way your safety is going to get there if after 5 yards, the guy can bend it all the way back in. And that was twice. They hit him up the seam twice. Same type of play, maybe a little different defense, but I know the technique on both of those calls was inside technique. You're supposed to keep that guy pushed out, but you let him get back all the way back inside the hash to damn near the middle of the field to catch a seam route. Those are the backbreakers, right? You're playing good. They call this play. You got the right technique, but you haven't committed to it enough to finish the job. And that's been something that this defense, when you talk about the disruption, for the last 4 weeks, they've been committed to finishing the job. It hasn't always been perfect, but we haven't seen these types of wide open fundamental breakdowns in a while,
right?
You know? And they don't like nice things either. There was no pass rush, probably didn't have an opportunity for one because ball was out and they were moving and staying in short, manageable situations. So you couldn't get to those types of plays. You didn't create any negative yards.
Yeah, and even when the few third and longs they did get him into or longers, he did have all the time in the world to stand back there and pat the football and wait for someone to open. And they didn't even have Olave in the game, and they didn't have their starting right tackle. I think it was an overall just block.
Just funky energy. And I don't know where you read or thought that you were actually good enough to come in, look at a team on tape and say, yeah, we got this. You don't have any of them. You got to go out and earn them. They were, again, I said that the Saints were a team in their weight class. They played in the ugly division. They don't put up a ton of points. It's just, and you guys just walked in and just thought you had it.
Yeah.
Saints thought differently.
I want to talk about DeVito because I've seen some things and heard on the radio, whatever. Well, the Cinderella ride is turned into a pumpkin, blah, 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 blah. Some people, friends of mine have been like, well, it was fun while it lasted. Whoa. Let's slow down here. He's going to start probably the rest of the season.
Yeah.
And one thing we've seen out of Tommy DeVito is him grow between games. He obviously is very coachable. He obviously, all the Tommy cutlets and all that other stuff, that's great, but that's not his focus. And look, all I'm going to say is this. First of all, Tommy DeVito didn't play a bad game. I watched all the offensive snaps yesterday while Schmelk was grading them and charting them and everything else on the coach's tape and breaking them down. And hey, there were a bunch of times where there was nobody open. 1 or 2 of those sacks were complete coverage sacks. And then on certain plays where guys did get open, they were just free runners. And you know what? I hate to say this, but if you're a Giants fan and you look at this objectively, you say to yourself, man, that looked a lot like Daniel Jones games.
Or Tyrod Taylor games.
Or Tyrod Taylor games. It looks kind of the same.
Volume sacks.
Volume sacks. Nobody's open. And the
free runners.
Yeah, the quarterback can't. His back foot's not even hitting, and he's already dodging people.
Yeah.
So, and you know what Tommy DeVito did in that game on Sunday?
What he didn't do.
Yeah, he didn't turn the ball over.
Exactly.
Under that kind of pressure, and with having to throw the ball away and people coming after him, he didn't make any of these cross his body, cross the field, desperation as he's going down, sidearm one and have it get picked. Protected the football again, even under that adverse pressure.
And that is where the the folks that are saying the Cinderella ride is over. No, he didn't shit the bed. He took care of the football, even in all the chaos and the distress he was under, or duress he was under. He didn't throw the ball away. He didn't put it on the ground. He tried to continue to make good decisions. Even if that meant holding on to the ball when you got 3 defenders on you like oxygen.
Yeah. I mean, I thought he acquitted himself well. He took a big shot, just came back. And yeah, I listen. The offensive line is the starting point for all of this with this team.
Yep.
It's plain and simple. DeVito's got a lot of guts. We'll see. He's going to have 3 more opportunities to figure out where he fits in the landscape of all of this. But the magic carpet ride, well, it was a good story while it lasted and all that other stuff. If he would have gone in New Orleans against the Saints and had a game like where he threw 3 interceptions and fumbled it and made bad decisions with that crowd noise and that defense, then you could say the bubble might have burst on him a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But he looked like an NFL quarterback, that had no protection and no running game and was under siege, yet he didn't fumble and he didn't throw the ball into the other team's hands. So to me, the magic carpet ride is not over. He's got 3 more spins on Santa's sleigh or the magic carpet ride, or whatever you want to call it, to continue to prove that he is of NFL caliber player in this league. So this whole notion is ridiculous. Now, can I tell you something that I want to tip my cap to a couple people?
Go ahead.
I want to give Saquon Barkley and Tommy DeVito a lot of credit because the rookie defensive lineman for New Orleans, the first-round draft pick out of Clemson, Bleav, he's from Philly. I think he's half Italian. So during the week, they came up with the thing that, hey, if we get a sack, we're going to do the Paisan thing. And then Passano had 3 sacks in the game. They wound up having 7, and their celebration was the Paisan thing. I love the way DeVito and Saquon talked about that after the game. They weren't angry. They weren't pissed. They were like, hey, when you do something, what goes around comes around. To the victor goes the spoils. They handled it really well. They weren't complaining or, next time we see those guys, they was like, all right, yeah. You put yourself out there.
Yeah.
You open yourself up for coming back, and they got the best of us. I thought it was kind of a really cool thing the way they handled it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the reality. That's a sober look at, what comes around goes around. What goes around comes around.
But how many times in today's world, in today's sports, no matter what the sport is, guys love to celebrate and they love to kind of rub it in someone's face, but the minute it comes back at them, all of a sudden it becomes an issue.
Yeah, no, all the time.
All the time. So that kudos for them for handling it that way. I give Pugh credit for one thing. He stood in front of his locker after the game. He didn't sugarcoat anything about his play. And he said that, to paraphrase, it was awful. And he put it on himself that he set a bad tone. And, again, he's a dude that was on the couch and he's just a starting left guard.
Yeah.
So, I mean.
But they have to like nice things. You would think they put together a string of games where their communication was good. Now, there are going to be times, just given the talent level, that they're going to get outmanned or outmuscled or beat. But at least you know who you're blocking and you give your guy a chance. This game, that didn't happen. Their communication was awful. Awful. Like I said, we're back to free runners again. And you can see everybody talked about the magic of DeVito, and he can do this and he can escape, and he can until he can't. And put a few more of those on tape, you're putting him at risk, offensive line. Because if you got this many free runners during the game and you give up volume sacks, at some point, your quarterback will get hurt. So I don't even care if you don't hold up. Just block the guy you're supposed to. Get in front of the guy. If he pushes you back, your quarterback got a chance. Your quarterback has no chance when you got guys, you're pitching no hitters up there. And guys are just running into the quarterback unabated. Can't do that. It's not, again, I'll say it, I've been saying it, it's not sustainable.
No.
For any quarterback. It's not. So if you thought this one was bad with the no-hitters, Sweat, Reddick, Carter, Cox. Graham. Okay, if you thought this one was bad, and the one thing I do know about Matt Patricia, they're going to run them goddamn games until you stop them. They got in tackle twist. They got tackle twist. They got middle linebacker tackle in twist. They got all of it. That I know about Matt Patricia because he was raised in a system that taught that. And when he's raised in that system and they rely a lot on their defensive front, you're going to see a lot. Your nose is going to bleed from seeing all of this shit going by you if you don't communicate, right? And then what makes it even worse, when you think it's a stunt, they just going to use those speed guys on the outside. So better start communicating. You better start looking at tendencies, and you better know exactly who you're dealing with because they're looking for a get-right game in Philly. They're looking for a get-right game. And you know, everybody's on TV. I'm just telling you right now, you cut the TV on now, oh, Philly's going to get it right against the Giants now. If I'm Tommy DeVito, oh, I don't want to be in Philadelphia on Christmas. I just heard it this morning. If I'm Tommy DeVito, I don't want to come to Philadelphia on Christmas because this is an anger. Yet you hear the quarterback say that, you know, they're not committed enough. Oh, well, this is going to be the game where they show their commitment to their quarterback. Well, here, listen up, folks. If you're a Giant football player and you allow that shit to intimidate you out of going to Philadelphia, don't get on the bus. Don't get on the train because if they're looking for a get-right game, they're 17 weeks in. They still got shit that ain't gonna get fixed. They just want to make it look better against you. Your job is not to make it look better against you.
Your job is to make it more of a trend.
Yeah. Okay. And I'm going to say it, and he's my guy. James Bradbury been getting beat since week 1, right? Now, don't make him a bad cornerback because he makes more plays than he gives up. But every week, there's 1 or 2 a game where he gets beat on it. That's a trend, folks.
Last year, remember we were looking at the coaches' tape. Slayton spun him around a bunch of times. Yeah. It's just the protection was so bad that Jones could never get a pass off to him.
Right. So those are the, you know, when they talk about, oh, if you're Tommy DeVito, you don't want to be in Philly on Christmas. Well, you know what? Now it's time to say I'm a professional football player too. Your offensive line, you got to say, well, you know what? I might get my ass kicked up front, but guess what? I am not letting you run free to my quarterback. I'm going to get my body and I'm going to fight your ass every single down. Let's see what happens after that because, oh, wait, if I can get a 50-50 ball on Bradbury or I can beat him, Darius Slayton, Jalen Hyatt, make the play. These are the ones. There will be opportunities if you can block it and if you can catch it. Simple as that. There will be those opportunities because here's the other part too. In that Philadelphia meeting room, Matt Patricia's saying, you know, this SOB doesn't have a turnover yet. Let's be the first team to fucking turn him over. That's what Matt Patricia's saying to him. And he's going to go to James Bradbury, because he's probably going to hear this and he's going to say, Bradbury, you hear what they're saying about you, right? They say you get beat every game. It's time for you to get a turnover over this freaking guy out of New Jersey, right? He's going to give them everything they can to energize them and have them coming out looking like, okay, it's time to get right. We're going to roll in here and we're going to just beat the hell out of the Giants. We're going to make this guy look like the undrafted free agent he is. This offensive line, we're just going to run through them. I'm just telling you right now, the linebackers who have been under siege, let's get right against Barkley. He hasn't had a good game anyway. Let's shut him down even more. That's what y'all facing going into Philly. So if you're worth the patch you're putting on, you got to go in there and fight.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to go in there and fight because there are certain things about their energy level may change for sure because they're at home. They don't want to get booed by their own crowd. 100%. Their energy level will change. But some things about the way they play, it's been there all year. And
right.
The teams that can exploit it do that, right? They've been run on all year. If you can do the things you're supposed to, you'll have an opportunity to do that too.
Yeah, I mean, Walker was incredible on Monday Night Football. Whenever they needed something, they were running the ball.
Yeah. So there's something there, and people going to say, well, Giants are not Seattle. Seattle ran the Giants out of the park at home. All those things can be true, but there are opportunities there. You got to make them. We know the caliber team Philadelphia is, but they got their things that they got to get fixed. Are you going to be the get right game, or are you going to go in there and give your best effort? Because you got them twice. They beat your ass this first time and they do it bad. Oh, they're bringing the bully stick to the Meadowlands.
Well, they did. So
you better put up a fight.
They did it 3 times last year. They beat them twice in the regular season handily, and they smoked them in the playoffs.
Yep.
And that comes down to some of that personal pride or whatever, where hey, wait a second, these guys embarrassed us last year 3 times. We're drawing a line in the sand here.
Not even a line in the sand. Let's talk amongst ourselves and be better.
Mm-hmm.
That line in the sand ain't got nothing to do with the guy across from you. It's got to do with your ability to execute, right? Do the part that you're supposed to do and let the football take care of itself, right? We know, like I said, we know the caliber of team. The Philadelphia Eagles are a championship caliber team. The Giants are not. That's the reality. Philadelphia's been beat this year.
They got beat by the Jets.
Yeah. Philadelphia
lost to the Jets. Year. When they were like 10-1 or whatever, they lost to the Jets.
Yeah, so you give your best shot. You do your job. Let the rest of it take care of itself. They've got things that have been there all year. They ain't getting fixed on Sunday. Their energy is going to be off the chain. They're going to be flying around and doing whatever they do in Philly. And I can tell you now, if you're an offensive line, Matt Patricia, get ready. Matt Patricia is going to you're going to look like you're on a fucking merry-go-round if you don't communicate, because that's what he does. He's got more tricks up his sleeve when it comes to D-line stunts than you can imagine, and he knows that this is a weakness. Get ready. He's got him, like I said, he'll have you like you're on a merry-go-round. Which way, that's what they do. So you make up your mind as Ben Bredesen, Pugh, JMS, get ready. But your number one priority is to communicate. No free runners to your quarterback. If you can do that, and here's what's going to happen. If you can pick them up, then they're going to start blitzing. That's when you're going to have some opportunities on the back end. But right now, he feels, I can tell you now, Matt Patricia he looks at that front 6. I'm talking about the rotation of those defensive linemen, and he's going to have so many different stunts. You can't pick him up. They're just going to keep running him. If you start to pick him up and make it difficult, then he's going to be like, shit, we got to get more pressure. He's going to send one of those linebackers. You're going to have some opportunities, but you got to be focused the entire game.
Yeah, and you better line up right. You better not jump. You better not have unforced errors where 1st and 10 becomes 1st and 15.
Oh, which Katie barred the door then. Which
becomes 2nd and 15. And then a false start makes it 2nd and 20. Like you can't. That cannot happen.
Not against this team.
Nope. No, and do the basics. Like if it's a slant and you're going to get 8 on 1st down and that's all that play is going to get you, make sure you get that 8 because now you can open up your playbook and now you're putting them on the defense. Well, anyway, we did a little bit of a preview for the Eagles game as well.
Because it's written, folks. You know, you're back to your old ways. The Giants are back to their old ways. Free runners to the quarterback. No communication. No run game. Receivers dropping opportunities. Complimentary football, what's that?
Got anything else?
That's all I got today. We'll come back to this
later in the week.
Yeah, do a little more work on Philly, but that's my message early, so y'all can get ready.
By the way, Jamie Gillen, heck of a job with the 40-yarder.
Yeah.
No, there was a big battle. I was talking to Casey Kreider. Like, there was a whole big battle of who was going to get to kick off.
Really?
Kreider was lobbying to kick off because he's kicked off before. I know Cager gave it a shot. Didn't look so hot.
Didn't look so hot, no.
Gillen has kicked off in his career, so he's done it a bunch of times. But good job by actually Gillen's punted the ball really well the last few weeks. I know fans are not excited about punting, but I thought he's done a nice job and he kicked the 40-yard. All right.
Yeah.
We'll be back later in the week for a full preview. We got a sneak peek preview. How do we like to end it?
That's a warning. That's not a preview. That's a warning. Tell a friend to tell a friend.
Bleav in Giants.